Welcome to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I believe every divorced woman deserves a romantic relationship where she feels safe, loved, and cherished. You can create the most amazing life after divorce, and I will teach you how. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. We are here with another Dating After Divorce story for you. I have my friend and coach colleague here on Zoom with me. Kelly Bonanno is going to tell you her Dating After Divorce story. Kelly is a wellness and life coach for divorced people. Welcome, Kelly, to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So could you please just introduce yourself to the listeners, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do as a wellness coach and what you do as a life coach?
Absolutely. So yes, I'm a wellness and life coach. And my specialty is helping people going through divorce or just on the other side, move through the process with confidence and grace and become the best versions of themselves inside and out, and just make their next chapter their best chapter, create the life they want, become the person they want to become and create the life they want. My favorite thing is to hear people say, I'm happier than I've ever been. And then I also do corporate wellness, which I love. I love teaching workshops. I have workshops on all different topics of wellness and wellness programs for businesses. That's a fun thing for me too.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And I love what you said about getting to the place where you see the divorce as a gift. I have experienced that. And I think that surprises people, when you get to that point. But I'm just like, yes, I have no regrets. I'm just happy. And then you start to see the gifts in the whole journey, even in the painful parts. Exactly.
Yeah. You really do. And it's hard to see the forest through the trees, but it's like, you will see it. You will get there. So it's hard to believe, and then it's like, once you're there, you're, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So, how long were you married in your earlier relationship?
26 years.
Wow. That's a long time. How old were you when you got married?
I was in my 20s. So, I'm not super young, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. But 26 years is a long time. And I've heard a lot of those stories. I was in mine for 17, 20 years. By the time the ink dried on the divorce, I got married at 21. So do you know what was the precipitating factor for the divorce?
It was a long time coming. It's never really one thing. And I don't think it happens overnight for sure. I'm sure, it's like, you think about it and then you don't think about it. And it just, so it was it started with, it takes two to tango. I think it was just kind of both of us. The main thing was I just was so I was just overwhelmed with kids. They're now 17 and 21, but when they were babies and toddlers, and I had no help. And I went from this great career that I loved in network television, and that was my identity, my life, and that was my goal. And then it was pretty demanding, and my commute was long. So even though I really didn't want to leave my career, if I was going to have a child, I would have never seen him. So I left, and then my identity was just with a newborn, and I didn't know any other, none of my friends, either they had kids or they didn't have any kids yet. And I just felt kind of alone, and I had postpartum anxiety. And then I, made some mom friends, but I kind of still felt overwhelmed, and I just kind of kept feeling overwhelmed, and I wasn't getting my needs met. Now I know, hindsight, and also since then becoming a life coach and a health coach, I know what I was missing and needing. And the me today would have done things differently, but I didn't know better. And so I didn't take care of my needs, my psyche, I didn't ask for help, and that's on me. Yeah. And I played the victim, and I adored my kids. I loved my life, but I just felt like I had no time to myself. And I remember thinking, I just need some balance. And I love working. So I always tried to do something, even if it was part-time, so I wouldn't have to, because we we went down to two, or, from two incomes, and I was the breadwinner for a little while. And then, and then he started making enough money that we could go down to one income, but it was tight, especially in Southern California. Maybe somewhere else in the world, it wouldn't have been tight, or in the country. But so, finances were tight. We didn't really have money for babysitters. And so we didn't do date night. We didn't nurture us. And I just felt like I didn't have even the wherewithal, to nurture. And so that's where the first breakdown came. We didn't nurture ourselves, and we didn't make each other a priority. And kids were the priority, especially for me. I was a stay-at-home mom and everything, and then I just, I think we both kind of just started slowly but surely falling out of love. Yeah. And then it was kind of slow, and then we tried to make it work. And then finally there was a point where it was just, there was no turning back. But we live in Southern California. We really couldn't afford to have two separate homes here. Yeah. I mean, it's expensive enough anywhere. And then in Southern California, it's like, oh yeah. And then, rents are higher than a mortgage. If you have a decent mortgage, and we have a nice house, but we have low rates. And so, I'm still in the house now, and my mortgage is less than his apartment, even though because of, the rates and when we bought the home and everything. So, and it just got to a point where we weren't happy. Then we were fighting, and it was not good. Fighting bad, and that I regret that. We fought too much in front of the kids. It was not a good situation. And I finally came to the point, and I was on a real personal development, personal growth period after that point. When my kids kind of got to school age, and I could kind of take a breath, and I started focusing on myself and focusing on my spirituality. And, I kind of discovered Marianne Williamson and Gabby Bernstein, and really just opening up my world and my view to a lot of the things that I already had in place at my core. Like I was, gratitude was even since a little kid, I've always like gratitude first and thanking God. Like all my prayers are always thanking God and counting my blessings. But I felt like I kind of lost sight, and I wasn't living in the moment. And even when I wasn't and frazzled, I remember thinking, I'm going to miss when they're little, and I'm going to miss this. And I slow down to take a beat, but then you get caught up, Yeah. So when I started really the journey of bettering myself and just kind of rediscovering myself, I thought, I cannot change anything else or anybody else, but I can change how I view things, how I perceive things, how I act, how I react. Yeah. And then it helped. And he did his own work too. And then I suggested, listen, we were kind of living like roommates, and we really didn't have a choice. And that kind of sucked, but I suggested, let's go to therapy so we can at least live copacetically, because we can't have this animosity, we can't have this bad situation if we have to live together. Yeah. And that definitely helped. And also just us working on ourselves helped. And we got to a point, but it wasn't perfect. It still wasn't the ideal. I mean, we still fought, we still had issues, but it wasn't, so it wasn't ideal, but at least it wasn't volatile, because it got volatile there for a little while. Yeah. So at least we, my kids had their both parents in the same home, and we kind of plugged along. And, when we finally made the announcement to my kids to get divorced, my oldest was like, well, you should have gotten divorced 7 years ago. I know.
You say that now, but your little self 7 years ago might not have enjoyed that.
Yeah. And at least they had us both in the house together. Yeah. And I think there were a lot of good points to be still together, or,
Yeah. I think that's something to be really proud of, that both of you were able to work that out to get the outcome that you both wanted, which was, hey, let's hold it together for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the best solution at that point.
Yeah. And I think for children, and just seeing people getting along is good for them. It's just good for them, no matter what. It's, so I think I just hope you're proud of yourself for, making those choices for you that worked for you.
Thank you. I am. And, they didn't always see us get along. It wasn't always roses, but it was much better. And it wasn't, and also even in the happiest of marriages, there's conflict, and, so. Yeah. So then when we finally kind of, and then the pandemic hit. So it's kind of like, well, where are we going to go anyway?
Yeah.
We all have to just sit at home for this period of time or whatever's going on. And life was sort of on hold and the world was all on hold and crazy. So it really made no sense to divorce then and to pay for two different places to live where we're just going to be sitting at home or what have you. But then, as things kind of started opening up and we saw, obviously the pandemic was, things were kind of normalizing a little bit, even though different parts of the country and the world were different, we started mediation. And that's the nice thing too, is because we did the work, we were able to get a mediator and be very amicable. And it was so much better and so much more economical than having two attorneys and being volatile. And so that was another thing because of what we did when we finally were ready to, it was a more peaceful resolution. And now we're completely amicable, and I'm in a wonderful, loving relationship. And so is he. And I'm so happy for him. I want that for him.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. I really, really love that. In situations where that is able to happen, oh my gosh, it's like so good. So good. So
it definitely took the work. Like you got to do the work. This is what I help my clients with. It's like, okay, because it doesn't happen just by wishing.
100%. And that was going to be my next question was like, divorce always comes with grief. Like, where did you process your grief? Was it while you were still in the marriage, knowing that, okay, this is ending at some point, or did it hit you after?
A little bit of both. I went through such stages and, there were some points where I wanted to be free and live my life and start my next chapter. I got, I would get impatient and just like, and then I thought, well, you know what? I am good. I mean, we had a great marriage. It doesn't, like, there's no shame in divorce, and it doesn't mean that the marriage was horrible or not meant to be. We have these amazing kids, and we did have a lot of love for many years. And so I just kind of processed and kind of, tried to get myself prepared for it. And I realized, and I kind of also decided, you know what, I'm going to appreciate while we're here. Okay. So we can't divorce. So I'll just appreciate what we do have and appreciate the good parts of him. And, we went on family vacations and you know what I mean? So I just kind of really thought, well, I'm not going to have this. And so I'll appreciate what I do have. And then when he, he moved out, it was jarring, even though I wanted, there were some parts, in the journey where I was just like, oh my God, I just want to leave, but even so, it was weird. And it was, so even if you want the divorce and you are prepared for it, it's still such a transition. And it is, it's such an identity shift. And also it's just kind of an emptiness. Like all of a sudden we were living in, like I said, we were living like roommates. So we were living in two different rooms. So it wasn't, but he was here. Mm-hmm. And while we didn't always get along really well, he still was my person, my main person in my life. And sometimes we did get along really well. And he's funny and he's got a lot of great attributes, I would never, and he's very smart. And it's just all of a sudden the emptiness. And I would look at like his room and it would be dark and it just was weird. And that was really surprising. And I thought it just was such a shift. And then when he started dating before I did, and that was weird. It's like, it's not that I wanted him back or I was jealous or anything, but it was just like, he was been my husband for all these years. And now, you know what I'm saying? Just all these weird things. And so things you just don't even realize you're going to feel. That's really what it is.
I think it's the transitions. I think we just don't realize just how much a part of ourselves people are, or our routine, or just things that they took care of that you didn't think about while they were there, or just even I think, and I remember when I was in single, thinking about my safety, even though my ex was really not someone I wanted anywhere near me at all, for varying reasons. When there's a man in the environment, your sense of safety is just a little bit better because you're less likely to have someone want to come and mess with you in that situation. I remember, just being a little more guarded in general about my safety.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Me too. Like there was a little, just kind of a sense of security knowing he was in the house. It's so true.
Yeah.
That is a Good point. Yeah.
Things we don't think about.
Yeah, exactly. And just, it was like this void. And also it was like all of a sudden things were different. He was in my life, in my home. I could talk to him anytime, whatever. And then it was like, no.
Yeah.
And even though we were all amicable, we did the mediator, everything good. He was mean. He like all of a sudden was mean to me for like the first month or two. And I know that was just his way of processing, and who knows what he was going through, even though, and like he was dating a few people, didn't even work out. And then, and he just was, I mean, he said some mean things, and I was just like, wait a minute, we were peaceful. But it's like everybody has their processes in different ways. And it was, it was, and it was all these emotions and up and down, and I remember I was having a tough time, and I met with some girlfriends. We went out, and I was telling them it was, and they were like surprised because they knew how much I wanted it. So they were like, I thought you were fine. And it's like, it's all these surprising things. It's divorces like this.
It's still, I mean, it still feels like the loss of a limb or a death in the family, even when it's amicable, much less when there are all these other losses or pain that go along with it.
Right. Exactly. It's so true. So true. And I'm in retrospect, and I let myself feel it. I mean, I let myself go to the dark places and feel and be weirded out by him dating, and weirded out and just like, and miss what we had, even though in no way did I want it back. And I knew that my next chapter was going to be amazing. I knew it. I just held that belief, but I was like, and I realized too, that if I didn't feel all the feelings, and repress them, then they're going to come back to bite me some way. And this is what I really try to tell my clients and people is, you got to process, you got to feel them. The only way out is through. I know people, we're going to hear that a lot, but it's the truth. Yeah. And if you don't process and feel and go through it, then it's going to come out somehow, somewhere down in your next relationship, somewhere down, or it can manifest in your body as pain, as illness. And and you don't want to repeat patterns, and you want to heal so you're not repeating the same thing in the next relationship.
100%, because those emotions are there, and when they get triggered, you just repeat what you know how to do that you've always done.
Exactly. And so I really held the mirror up to myself also. I did a harsh, because also, you have to take responsibility for it takes two to tango. And so I took responsibility, okay, what did I do? What can I learn from what I did wrong in the relationship, or that contributed to the demise? And
even if all you did was marry that person, you got to look at that. Why did I marry this person? Which was a lot of my work was, wait a second. No one dragged me to the altar here. I made this choice. What was going on in my brain? What was going on in my body? What was the emotional blueprint that I had? What was the imago image that I had for a partner? I came to the relationship with that. And so really, breaking that down and seeing it and taking responsibility for it, even though, I didn't sign up for that image or that blueprint consciously, it was still mine, and owning that and saying, okay, I see why I got into this relationship. And I see why I stayed in so long. I see why I enabled this behavior. And when you see it, you can't unsee it, which means you're less likely to repeat it.
Yes, absolutely. That's the nice thing. It might be hard to face, but that's what helps you grow and get to the point where you're less likely to repeat it. And the other thing is, and I know that, in some circumstances, we were, neither one of us, there was no infidelity. There was nobody gambled all the money away, so I know that in some circumstances, when you really are betrayed, it is hard to say, well, he did this, she did this.
Yeah.
But we all still have a role. We all still, and also when you take some responsibility, there's always something, every relationship is a lesson, and different parts of that relationship is a lesson. And when you really hold the mirror up and learn, the other thing is you don't want to play the victim, because if you're playing the victim, then you have no power over yourself, over your life, over your future. And yes, bad things, people do bad things, and yes, you can be the victim, so to speak, but don't play the victim. And that's what helps you grow and move on. And the other thing is forgiveness. I mean, if you don't forgive, the only person it hurts is you. Forgiveness is really for ourselves.
Yeah. I have an interesting take on forgiveness, where I feel like it's just an automatic thing that happens when you do what you said, which is you heal and you restore and you take your power back. It's almost like forgiveness just becomes this thing that it's like something just falls off of you. It's like a dead limb falls off. You don't have to go hack it off, which I think some people try to do. I'm going to forgive. And you're like,
no,
it's
exactly.
Like
it comes
keep
naturally.
Going through the journey, be willing. And as you grow and heal and shift back into thriving and loving, it's just almost like, he doesn't need to pay me back, Yeah. Right. Amazing. What a journey. Thank you so much for sharing that. How did you feel what did you think about dating? Like coming, going through the divorce and then being like, okay, I'm going to be out, quote unquote, on the market. I hate those words, but captures what I'm trying to say. We've all had that thought.
Get myself out there.
Yeah, putting ourselves out there. Like, what were your initial thoughts about a new relationship? Do you wonder exactly how divorced women just like you are meeting eligible men who want a real relationship and a commitment? They're doing it by dating with their core values. Your core values are the GPS that lead you to the partner you've been looking for. When you use your core values on dating apps, text messages, and at social events, you will easily connect with your true match partner without chasing, settling, or wasting time with non-committal men. I have taught exactly how to do this in the 2-hour Core Values Dating Blueprint course available on my website, shadecurry.com/dating. That's SADECURRY.com/dating. You will learn exactly how to identify your core values and use them on your dating profile, how to ask the right questions via text, and how to tell the right stories on dates, so that you attract the right people and repel those who aren't right for you. If you're ready to meet your true match, hop over to shadecurry.com/dating or click the link in the show notes. Now back to the episode.
Well, I was excited for one because we had not had a romantic, loving relationship with each other in a very long time. So I was definitely ready for it. But along comes all the fears and, our stories and the what ifs and the things you hear,
Yes.
like that narrative that we talk about on the summit. Yeah. Hello, dating sucks. There's no good men out there. There's, you know what I mean? And to buy into that is really to the detriment.
Yeah.
So,
and actually, you mentioned the summit, and I just want to plug the summit right now since it's come up.
Right.
So listeners, Kelly, in the next week or so, is hosting a summit for divorced women. And it's got a ton of speakers. I am one of them. So I have a session in there on dating that you will love. Like she pulled some stuff out of me that I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. So that the information from the summit is going to be in the show notes. You can go and sign up, and it is free, I believe.
Yes, it is free.
To participate in the summit and watch all of the speakers. And then there's a VIP option if you want to upgrade what you get out of the summit. But it is amazing. And I'm so excited. I know a lot of the divorce coaches who are going to be on here on the summit. So you guys, please click on that link in the show notes, sign up, and make sure you check it out. All right, back to our programming.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. It's going to be amazing. So Loving Life After Divorce is the name of it. But we'll have all the links there. Okay. So I thought, well, I took that time. I thought, well, I can't divorce. We can't even separate physically. We were kind of like separated, but living together, but I couldn't, and I thought, well, what can I do? I can work on myself. I can get myself prepared. I can do those things. And And so that's what I did. And, our kids, like I said, they're 17 and 21 now. So they were not little, but they were young. And so, we tried to keep a cohesive, as copacetic as we could, and give them a good home and at least be there for them. But it was a little tricky because I thought, we're separated but living together, but yet we didn't tell, our kids were too young to understand that. So they knew we weren't happily married. I mean, that's why it was no surprise to them when we finally did divorce,
Yeah.
So, but I just kind of, in the therapy, I thought we deserve to do what we want to do. And so I said to him, I said, listen, we're not, I'm a traditional married couple, but, I think we should be free if something comes up. So we were kind of able to date. He thought it was a little weird, but we didn't really have it wasn't like we would cheat on each other because we weren't, you know what I mean? It was like this weird criteria. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are living like this because they can't afford to get divorced or whatever, or whatever. It's so many reasons, or they can't afford two places. So luckily I wasn't completely fresh off the, because there were men I'd get attention from, and so but nothing could be serious or real because I wasn't,
right.
You know what I mean? I wasn't.
Yes.
The clean.
Well, you had gone, so it sounds like you'd gone on some dates, had some conversations. So you'd worked out a little of the,
yes,
the awkwardness of
it wasn't totally rusty. You know what I mean? And so there was so there was some of that. So I was glad about that because I wasn't totally rusty. And then I thought as we got closer and we were, I knew it was going to be coming down the pike, something hit me. And I thought, it's fearful. Let's call a spade a spade. Dating is, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage you are, no matter whether you're single, married, divorced, coming off of a marriage or divorce or never been married, it's scary. It's scary to put your heart out there. So, but I thought, whatever I think about it is what I'm going to get back from it. And so if I think, well, there's no good men out there, they're all players, or there's, all the good ones are taken, or, oh my gosh, dating at my age, please. I mean, if I think all those negative things, that's what I'm going to get. Yes. So I thought, you know what? And just something came to me, and I thought it was almost like a premonition and intuition. It was almost like a spiritual thing. I thought, there's a guy out there who, and I just almost fantasize about the guy I want and how I want to be treated. I want to be cherished, and I want to be, I want to have that great loving feeling and have good communication. And, nothing's going to be perfect, but at least feel really loved and feel, cherished and have a great, sexual chemistry and all those good things, and have someone who put his act together and who's just a good guy and have fun with. And you know what? He's out there waiting for me, and he's wondering where I am.
Yes.
He is out there wondering where I am.
I love it.
And that is what I kept with me. That's just what I that was my narrative. I thought, you know what? He's wondering where I am. And then when we finally, he moved out and we were, free to do it, then then I wasn't really ready. Then I kind of took a break, and I was like, I got to process. But I had already processed so much that it didn't take that long, And I thought, and then I went on a vacation, and I just kind of cleared things, and I'm like, okay, ready to start my nice new chapter. And I thought, I'm going to try these apps. And I did. And I decided also, I'm going to have fun with it. That wonderful guy is out there wondering where I am, but I don't know when I'm going to meet him. And I'm not going to put any pressure on it. And I'm not going to be like, is with each guy, is he the one? Is he the one? No, just let's have fun and let's date and let's just meet fun people. And whether we're attracted to each other or not, maybe I'll make a friend or something, or I don't know. That is the attitude I put out there, because if I have fun with, if I believe I'm going to have fun with it, then I will. And also when you don't, what you resist persists. And so if I put too much pressure on it, then it would be, so I just thought, I'll have fun. And I didn't go on that many, I wasn't on the apps for that long. And then
how long were you on?
Like a few months, not even a few months, because I kind of was on and off, because I paused at some point because I kind of wanted to take a break. And then, also there was some organic dating, sort of, you know what I mean? And and then the apps, I remember one of my friends who was single, she kind of showed me the ropes and gave me some pointers. And so I went on some dates, and there was like, I just was having fun with it. Not a lot of guys that I really wanted a second date with, but nice people, what have you. And I was on Bumble and Hinge. And then I was at a party, and my friend's brother, who was recently separated, he was on the Facebook dating app. So he's telling me about it, and he was dating somebody that he liked, and he's showing me the app. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I downloaded it, and then I went on vacation. And Bumble, some of the apps, they take you to your location. The Facebook one didn't. So the guys I was matching with there, they were just back in the LA area, Thousand Oaks area. But the Bumble dating app, like I went on one date when I was on vacation. What the heck, And then when I came back, I thought, okay, I'm gonna really check out this Facebook dating app. And I would just like go through the guys that liked me, because that's the nice thing about the Facebook dating. Of course, it's a numbers game though. You're just like, so it's like a full-time job. Swipe, and then like, oh, he looks nice. And nice pictures, nice profile, good vibe. We had things in common. And so I messaged, he liked this. It's kind of the way it works on Facebook dating app is you can like someone. So he liked me, and then that put him on my queue. And then I, responded to him. And I liked that he cut to the chase, because the thing that I really don't like out there in the app dating world is like this endless texting. And I hear it from men and women. Some of my clients that are men and women, like they get these, like no one wants to tell you. Yeah. So I got a fair amount of that, where it was like back and forth. I'm like, okay, let's just look, a little bit is okay, but then we got to get on the phone, see if we even want to go out with each other. And then you got to meet, because who wants to waste time? And also make sure you're a real person.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
So I liked that he just said, hey, do you want me to just call you sometime? So he did. And then we talked, and then we were kind of trying to set up a date that weekend, and it wasn't really matching up. And I said, let me look at my calendar and I'll let you know. But then like 2 days later, he texted me and I like that he took initiative. He's like, oh, do you want to meet at 6:00 at this really great restaurant in Malibu? I thought, well, that's fun on the beach in Malibu. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a fun date. And he was cute. So we went, and we hit it off. I was like, okay, I do want to go out with him again. And so then we went out again, and we just, it was like,
I love it.
Just hit it off. And one date led to the next, and then we just fell in love. And it was like, he was that guy. He was out there wondering where I was, because he said he'd almost given up, because he just wasn't getting the one, something wouldn't match.
Yeah. And I think that's something I remind women of, is like, men are human too. The good guys are just humans, and they're looking for a specific kind of woman also, right? Like every relationship we see that is working is made up of multiple people who want to be in committed relationships, right? And so there are more of those people out there. There just are. There are more of those people out there of every gender. So it's like really just questioning our own brains when it says there's no good men. Like they're all wanting one thing. Some of them, yes, but not all of them. It's never all of them. Right. So I was going to ask you, like, how did you know, like, because at a certain point you had to be like, okay, I'm going to go on more dates with this guy, and he's the one down the line. Like, we're talking now, you've been together about a year. When did you know he was the one? That like, okay, I've checked out all the red flags and the green flags and all the things, and he's the one.
It's interesting. After it happened fast, and also, we kind of got exclusive sort of soon, within a month. And we were technically exclusive because neither one of us dated anybody else from the minute we, and so, I think actually he went on a date the day after he met me, but it was already planned. Like he had already planned to go out with her before he even met me. So he didn't cancel on her, but he wasn't interested in her. So he never went out with her again. Lucky me. And then, so we just, I could just tell, we just kind of kept getting drawn, and it just felt right and then it was interesting. About 2 months after dating, I felt like I was falling in love, and And I'm like, and then I kind of thought, should I be dating more? And then my friend was like, this is what you're looking for. And I thought, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. And it just felt right. So I was like, I'll just go with it. And I had this like, I was driving up. He lives in the LA, West LA area, and I live kind of just right outside, like in the suburbs. So we're not. It's like a 40-minute drive. It's not that bad. So I was driving home. It was this like beautiful day, and I don't know. I just felt like this like love, and when I was with him, I just felt like I love this man. He's such a good guy. He's a very good guy. Integrity. This is what I was getting from my intuition, and then he's very romantic. And then he was so cute. He celebrated our 2-month anniversary, and we went to the same restaurant that we went to on our second date. And he went there before we went there, and he like set up the table, and he had like a bottle of wine and a picture of us in a frame that I mentioned that I liked when we were shopping one day. So he bought that frame, put a picture of us in it, and like flowers. And I had no idea. So we're going, he's like, oh yeah, let's go back to, and I was like, okay. So we go back, and I'm looking over at the table, and I just couldn't even believe it. Was so romantic. And that was the first time he told me he loved me. So it was like, he did this whole thing, which was really, I know
that was 2 months. That was your 2-month anniversary.
2 months, which is, I know that feels early, but and I'm like, and then
about right, because
realistic, because it's like you don't really know someone in that time, but I felt love, and he felt love for me, and we just clicked, and then it kept going and growing, and look, it wasn't all perfect, we had to, and we've had our glitches and our things, but we work it out, and
I love that. That's so romantic. And actually what I was going to point out was actually that's a little more healthy, because for a lot of relationships that are love bombing, what happened on that date 2 months in is happening like the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot.
That would have been like, no way. Yeah. And not, no, he didn't do that thinking.
Yeah.
We just kind of in a healthy way. And also the thing is, this is for women out there. Good men do not want game players. Like if a woman played a game, she would not get attention 100%. From him.
Yeah. The same way we don't like men who play games.
No,
good guys don't like it either. Yeah.
We're not in high school.
Yeah, 100%. I wanted to delve just a little bit deeper into the feelings part of it, because, and this is something my clients often ask me, like when they're going on, these dates, and they're like seeing 2 or 3 people and kind of like weeding people out. And sometimes they catch feelings along the way, but then it turns out that feeling was a crush, an infatuation. And then like when we get to the end of the process and they actually meet their person, they're like, oh, now I understand what you were saying about how it feels when it's your person and it's love versus infatuation or lust or crushing or just my brain high on dopamine, with this other person. So did you have like different situations where, and maybe not even just with your boyfriend, but like maybe with other people where this was clearly a crush, and how did that feel versus your person? And of course there are romantic feelings, but then there's also like this groundedness and calmness and peace. Like just in your own words, what's the difference?
Yeah, I think the difference is, like you said, that you feel like a sense of safety. You feel safe with this person. You feel you trust them, and you do. Yeah, you're attracted, of course, because that's part of it. But you also feel, and you just care about that person. Like you really care, and you want the best for them. And for me, I'm pretty spiritual. I pray, so it's like I find you're praying for that person, and you want the best for that person.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and then just being realistic. I mean, it did occur to me like, okay, we don't know for sure if this is infatuation until we get further in. I mean, it feels like love. It really, and it felt like love on both our parts. And, but then as it grew, and then the love just kept growing. Yeah. And then when it's just an infatuation, it's kind of fleeting. And also you don't feel grounded. You don't feel like settled. You don't feel the trust, but you do feel maybe the butterflies or you want to jump them or something.
Yeah. And sometimes the crush can lead to love, like at the beginning. Yeah, but I think knowing the difference can help you make decisions. Well, okay, I'm in this infatuation stage. I need to keep
Yeah.
bringing in the calm and the logic and the
And that's how
my
I think
other
it was
brain.
for us. We were like crushing and infatuated. It felt like, and it felt like that from him. Like, and I liked that. I liked that somebody was like, crushing on me like that and
Yeah.
just all excited about me. And it was cool. And then, so I just and I also just thought, I'm not going to read too much into it. I'm just going to go with it. Just go with it and then see where it goes. And if it doesn't grow, then it wasn't meant to grow. And if it does, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations. What an amazing story. So my last question is just what's your advice for, because this whole divorce thing is a journey and everyone's in like all these different stages. So now you're at the I'm in love, got my partner stage. Yay, it's an amazing stage. So like for the women who are still coming up, like what's your advice for them about relationships and dating and finding their partner?
My first advice is, like I said earlier, go into it with an open mind and just fun, that you're just going to have fun. Just have fun with it and don't place any, you can have your goals and your values and your ideals, but don't place any restrictions.
Yeah.
Just have fun, get out there, meet. And also it is a bit of a numbers game. I mean, it let's be honest, it is.
It's going to be more than one person that you're going to go on a first date with. So we don't know what the max is, but it's got to be between 1 and 100, somewhere there.
Yeah. So be open and know that, and also look at each date as is just maybe a learning experience, what you're kind of looking for and not looking for, and being open to different types of people, because you never know. And you have to have some kind of spark when you're if you're doing it on the apps. At least you've got to have some kind of, something has to make you want to go out with the person, and being open to different types of people, because you just kind of never know, and but without, your values and what you're looking for, and things, also looking for being realistic about things that your basic ethics and values in life. I think those have to line up. Like, don't try to force a square into a hole, I mean, and so if a guy has really some values that just don't align with yours, but you like him in other ways, like, be realistic, because that's where I think we can fall into the infatuation thing. Like, oh, I can change him, or, oh, it'll be fine. And then you get yourself in a relationship that's really not with the right person.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Like, I love how practical and, in the end, when we look back, it's like, oh, it was really an ordinary journey, but meeting people finding love, people finding each other is an everyday occurrence. Yeah. Like, humanity's been doing it for.
That's the thing, is be open to opportunities and get out in the world. The apps are great, but that's what I said. And I wanted to make, like, on Bumble, I made some girlfriends, new girlfriends. That helps too. And just broaden your horizons, get out there in the world, and focus on living, not finding the one. Like, if you're out there living and doing, like, maybe a new hobby, a new meetup or something, and then you just never know who's going to get into your life. And that really helps too. And also, like I said, I'm going to go back to what I said before, the belief. Like, I just had this belief. I didn't have I try not to have the belief that no good guys are out there, that there are wonderful guys out there. And the one that I am going to end up with is looking for me and waiting for me.
Yes.
Just keep that belief.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it takes some help to get there to solidify that belief. But
yeah, amazing. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, absolutely. So this, circling back to your work, would you tell the listeners a little bit about the summit that's coming up, the work that you do, what you're putting together, and how they can participate?
Sure. So the summit is Loving Life After Divorce, and it is for anyone who's going through divorce, or just on the other side, or even thinking about it. Because let's face it, we think about divorce I mean, in some cases for a long time before it happens. So this is good for that too. And, even if somebody's been divorced for a long time, but they're feeling stuck, they're still having trouble moving forward. They're not at that point where they're saying, I'm happier than I've ever been. Like, that's my mission for my clients, for people. So when we have so many great speakers on all kinds of subjects that are going to be pertinent to you, like dating. I'm so glad. Oh gosh, our conversation's so good. Dating, dealing with finances, dealing with, betrayal, infidelity. We've got some of that, co-parenting, and just, wellness, and creating a life you want, like ways to get unstuck and move forward, and just to open up each speaker gives you just so many great insights and different perspectives to open yourself up to really getting to that next chapter and moving forward with love and confidence and grace and putting the past behind you.
Yeah.
And having it's that light at the end of the tunnel, getting there and being like where we are. It's so easy to say, oh, believe me, it's going to be great. But if you're not there, it's so hard to believe. So with this summit I really want to give people hope. And we have like over 25 speakers, and you're going to find some people that you resonate with and the advice you're looking for. And then you can kind of pick and choose which talks you want to go for. And it's completely free. So the URL will be in the show notes. And then also people can find me on kellybonanno.com, Bonanno. It's a tricky one to spell. And then Kelly Bonanno on Instagram as well. And I also have I have free resources on my site. Like, I have a good free guide that it's bad advice that keeps you stuck in the pain of your divorce. Like that bad advice. I think we talked about it on the summit where the rules, like the bad rule of, for every, I think you mentioned something.
Yeah, but it was 1 year. Stay single for 1 year for every 3 years you were married, and don't date. And of course it took 20 years. So mine was 20 years. So I would have had to force myself to stay single for 6 years after my divorce to follow that rule.
Yeah, that's insane. No, you got to date when you're ready. You shouldn't date until you're ready, but no.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say, and I think we mentioned this on the summit, is, you got to get yourself out there, and you're probably ready before you think you're ready, but you do need to do the work to be ready so you don't repeat patterns. And
100%.
Wrong person.
100%. Yeah. Thank you for your work with divorced women. I'm always saying, we're still an underserved community. So I just love that you're putting the summit together and that you're doing this work. So, again, thank you for the work. Looking forward to, seeing the summit. It's coming up. So then in the next week or so, all of you just go, you have the dates. We know the dates are.
The summit starts on September 25th.
September 25th. Yes. So that's the start date. So make sure
get direct access. Yeah.
So make sure you register and join in the summit. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story and your advice on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And listeners, we want to thank you for your time and attention. Please check out all the resources in the show notes, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to sadecurry.com to get started. That's SADECURRY.com. I'll see you inside.